I thought we were
Yeah, it's supposed to be spontaneously. Put out one go.
presenting to ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you. It's for 2-3 hours in a stretch. Thank you.
Well, for those of you who can stay, please bring your attention to the meeting that we're having in the front. And it's open with prayer. Lord, we give thanks for our church, for the resources that we have in people and in land, and for the vision that we have to develop this property for not only the benefit of our church, but the benefit of the surrounding community. Please be with us today as we present the latest of our work and receive questions and move our project forward. Please into this name. Amen. Amen. So we have different members of the development committee that are going to be bringing you information this morning. We are going to talk some about our training. We're going to talk some about what we want to do. And we'll talk about some next steps. And what we do is there's some organization and so the member of the development committee is Dominic Manning, Nacho Peterson, Joe Bolden, and Kim Kaiser, Joanne Riggs, Marcy Watson is our chair. So, Ms. Jones Bolden, would you please come forward and tell us something about the training we do, which we have just completed. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm just going to show you something. I can hear it well. Okay. Take a look at it when you can.
There are copies that you can.
Yes, there are copies that you can also have. Since September 19th up through June the 4th, your development committee has been meeting with a group that's called the Faith-Based Development Initiative. And that group it's a group of houses of worship that have come together in what's being called a cohort. I gotta take this off my face, sorry. But it was called a cohort. And there were persons in the houses of worship represented who are new to the development consideration on their end. But there were those who have been in a phase of development for several years, like we are one of the congregations. And so, you know, for us who were involved in the training, and we're talking 90 minutes on an average of 2 days a month, 2 Tuesdays a month. It was kind of like a 2-semester college course, but without spring break. But they did give us federal holidays, so that was cool. So we've talked to you before, because we mentioned in prior presentations, we have been doing this for quite a while. So what have we learned? And right now I'm going to tell you, I'm giving you the highest level I can give, okay? Because that's going to blow your mind enough. If you really want to get into the deep depth of what we've been doing, please get your own, we could even sign a copy for you, of the training package. Okay. So we've talked to you before about our intro lessons on affordable housing, development decisions, and the need for organizational readiness to ensure that we would begin and finish the project. That's the important thing. We can begin several times. Finishing it is a one thing, and we are looking forward to doing that. And we also learned about strategies for development. And following that, our training looked at the important development decisions that were required, along with community engagement, which in our case is going to be very important, because our land sits in a place that is a thoroughfare of sorts for our community neighbors who live in the apartments. So this is something that we really are going to be taking into consideration, how we communicate with them, what's going on. So this module in the tail end, the first module, and let me just back up the truck for a minute. We did 23 topics that were contained within 5 modules. And so it literally was 2 semester course. So this next module that we are looking at after we decided or we're considering the community engagement, the decision, is where we are pretty much now, like we're straddling some of these processes, these things that we have learned about. We're in that place now that we are actually about to be hands-on things, which is really exciting. You'll be hearing about the Community Development Corporation creation very shortly after this. And that is one of the big things, one of the most necessary things that we'll be doing. We are also looking at getting a professional study, I guess that's a good word, for the feasibility, not just of our project, because just to give you a quick rehearsal of what that was, we're talking about a worship center, a community center, where different groups in the community can come together, or we can use as a rental opportunity. But we're also talking about building affordable housing on our land. So we're talking a really big development project. And we need to have that feasibility study to make sure that what we are planning can be accommodated by what we have, our asset of land. We'll also be talking about a market feasibility study. And we kind of already know that affordable housing is needed in this area. We know that, but what we want to be certain of is not just what is feasible market-wise, but we want to get that documented, because when we start carrying all of this information to potential developers, they're going to want to see that. Let's see, right now we're like on a threshold of exploring some of what we learned. As I said before, we're going to get that Community Development Corporation done. And this is going to happen as a part of our training. We will be receiving grant money to do some of this pre-development stuff. Pre-development takes quite a while. It takes quite a while, because there's a scripture, and I knew it yesterday, but Jesus says, you know, who's going to build a house or a project without first, without first getting all the information, the necessities, all that has to be considered. And so our pre-development, that's why it takes so long. There are a lot of things to consider. And so in our training, we did learn about some of them. Most of us still have you know, our brain is still intact because it is really mind blowing and on many occasions. We even had persons from government agencies come and talk to us about the various permit processes that we would need to go through, the inspections that would need to take place. These are like the crux of a project, a development project, because if you can't get a permit or an inspection in your favor, you're going to be waylaid in your project. It's going to cost extra money. So we need to make sure that all of that information that is required by the state and the county is taken care of correctly. We also looking at we will also be looking at the environmental aspects. This is everything I'm telling you is stuff that we learned in our training. But remember, each session was 90 minutes long, which meant you're getting like this much of the information. There was a lot. That's a lot to take in. So one of the things that we did learn was about the environmental impact that our construction and our development would have, and how we can mitigate some of that through wise choices and how green we can be. There are a couple of different certifications that you can get for being an environmentally responsible build. So we'll be looking at that. And that can also help us with grant money. Let's see. Budgeting. Yeah, it's not free. As a matter of fact, some of the examples that we've seen of the type of project we're talking about is in the millions. So we're going to be leveraging money from grants, from other funding, perhaps some loans, so that we can meet the necessary budgetary requirements to get this project done, and done well, and done to the glory of God. Because we don't want some cruddy development project sitting out here on this land that we've been planning over 10 years to do turn out to be cruddy. We don't want that. It's not going to be God the glory. It's not going to do the mission that we have been given, the purpose we have been given as a church here in St. Christopher's. Not just St. Christopher, but here in New Carrollton. God purposely put us here. So let's do those things the way that He would have us do it, and we are counting heavily on His wisdom. Just winding up, we also learned about the different kind of spreadsheets that will help us visualize just how we're going to use our finances when we receive them, when they start coming in, and how once we get the project underway, to have those what we call punch lists that we need to be aware of, not only as a joint venture, which is what we will be looking at probably as a way of the joint venture being a partnership between our community development corporation and potential developers, and perhaps another entity. We'll find out about that a little bit more. But we are going to have to make decisions through that CDC on behalf of St. Christopher's to make sure that what is being built is what we want and what we need, and what will be a project that will last for quite a long time. There are going to be accompanying legal processes that we all have to go through. So, the attorneys have never left out a deal. So you have to make sure that you have not just an attorney from this beginning, but to maintain that relationship throughout the project. Because at the end, when you've done all the digging, we've done all the construction, we've done all the beautifying and all of that, you still have to get those affordable housing units occupied. And so that's going to be a whole other process. And I think one of the things we've talked about is, are we willing to put ourselves in that position if we want to hire a firm, or just how is that going to work for us? And there's a lot of wisdom involved in that. Because one of the things is that as a congregation, people come and go, right? For whatever reason. We're going to want to have a property management company that's going to be able to last at least the first 15 years, if possible, because that's part of some of the stipulations that come with the building of that kind of housing. And we also will have that interest in a space for rental. So how to best use that space to bring in more income for the church. This is a blessing, just like we were talking about the Israelites coming out of Egypt. Not to say that we're necessarily in Egypt, but we're in a situation where we actually need to see something happen that will bring our full purpose into being, to also benefit and bless the neighborhood, the community, and to especially bring glory to God. But this is not a willy-nilly thing that we've been doing. We don't sit there and file our nails while we're doing the training. We are absolutely taking notes, just getting things into our heads, keeping ledgers of things that we need to do. So that's like I said, the highest overview of what we've been doing. And I know we're going to have others present on some of the more tangible things that are being planned. But before I sit down, any questions? Okay. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you for your interest.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Good morning, George.
Good morning.
Well, Joe, I've already said everything really good. So I'm not gonna go start step by step or whatever what she said. But it's a very intensive training, and we are all involved, both mentally and writing. But one thing I can say is that the team are awesome team. And again, one of the things I say that it's good to do God's work. Because I tell Pastor Malene and the church are appointing me for the job and for this training. I have a personal enrichment I learned that will help me on my way along the line. And also, I learn more that will help me for the church too. So we are here together and we are in on it. So we pull it good. So what I'm about to say is a little bit about what we learn and the partnership that we make and the people we know. And we happen to know that there are other churches that are going through the same thing that we are doing. Going through being a new church. So a lot of them, and they were there, and we all learn together. And now it's good to know, because sometimes we are on the dark side of the thing. Now that I know that we have 501c, like what we're trying to vote, we have a LLC and the 501c and the PLC. So some of us don't know the difference between LLC and the PLC. Now I know that, and they have it to help our church. So I learned a lot of things from that. And we also learn about the environmental and the feasibility study of the church. They have to come, look at the land, and everything. But one other assignment I could say that I was assigned to, which is very important, and I still come across that in the line of work outside the church, is doing what we do now and building the church and the community center, we need to have emergency shelter. So an emergency shelter in a place like this, we have to know what is entailed, what is involved, what do we have in case of emergency, fire, earthquake, anything. So these people that will stay here, what do we need to do in that space? What does it take to be in that space? How can you survive in 24 hours in emergency shelter? So I was able to dig into that and get some information that in my portfolio I can continue as the church progress, as we progress to be the church. I'm available to do that for that information available, and also to shed more light to it. However, I'm not gonna be talking too much, but let me give other folks chance to shine in too. But thank you, Pastor Lena. Thank you for the church. You are awesome training. Thank you. And then 6 months training. 8 months training. Yes, it's a long one. Thank you. Any question for me?
Good afternoon. My name is Marcia Wosu, and I'm the chairperson of the Christopher Building Development Committee currently. This is our third update to the congregation. And let me speak on some general terms and some specifics as well. Since our last update to the congregation in January 2024, the Development Committee has been fully engaged in our ongoing quest to fulfill our redevelopment of St. Christopher's Church, holding regular meetings, oftentimes with guests who help guide us through the process of going from where we are now to a brand new project complete with sanctuary, community center, and 100+ affordable housing units. As we learned in our training, and we now see for ourselves, there are many steps to development. It is really a marathon and not a sprint. We are currently in the pre-development phase. Central to this is our engagement with Ms. LaSharla Figgs, who is an expert in the creation of community development corporations, CDC. Creating a CDC will help the church to engage in the development of affordable housing and other social projects designed to fulfill community needs, while providing needed revenue for the financial stability of the church. I'm happy to report that St. Christopher's recently completed the months-long training under the Faith-Based Development Initiative, FBDI, and has been awarded the $55,000 grant as promised. These funds will be used for pre-development, under which personnel like Ms. Figgs will be paid for the CDC creation, along with other people and other services that are needed in the pre-development phase. Other parts of our pre-development necessary are getting a market feasibility study, an environmental site study, and creating a request for proposals from various service personnel. These requests for proposals will tell us what is being offered, what they can do for the church, and what they can do for a project, and which one will be the best for us to pick. And those are called, what that is called is requests for proposals, RFP. On these crucial aspects, we are being guided by our able consultant, one Ms. Bonnet Harris, who we have mentioned before. We learned that a good feasibility study must contain an executive summary with full details of the proposed consultant's background and experience, zoning and density of the site features, architectural plans that will provide the church with visuals of the site layout with the proposed buildings, which will include a 500-seat sanctuary, administration offices, classrooms, a commercial kitchen, and a community center that can also be designated as an emergency disaster shelter. It must contain a total construction budget and cost analysis of the desired features in the project. The environmental site study gathers historical and other readily available information on the site conditions to evaluate suitability for the project. This will be handled by an environmental engineer.
we shall send out again, we shall send out RFPs, requests for proposals to various entities in an effort to find the most suitable development partner for us. It is crucial to choose a development partner who shares the same vision as us and can provide services beneficial to the church. The development partner must be able to work with us to build a new church building as well as other buildings earlier mentioned, so as to minimize extra costs. Our consultant will help us to identify the best and prepare expressions of interest letters to send out to these third-party consultants who will complete the following reports in detail. Number one, market or project feasibility report. Number two, architectural report. Number three, environmental consultant. Number four, civil engineer consultant. And these will go a long way to further our building projects. These are where we are currently in our development process. Are there any questions, concerns? If not, thank you very much for your patience.
The $55,000 that you mentioned, is it, well, I'm not sure if I can, is it for the whole entire job or?
No.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the project is going to be in a million.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeking, we're still at this first stage, the pre-development. And we don't have the millions, obviously, so we'll be relying on our consultant will be guiding us to acquire some of these grants that are out there, as well as our land. That is the value that is in this land that we are sitting on, the equity. That is what the partners who will come in will be looking at to work with us and get this financial side of it going.
Okay, thank you. Yep, the $55,000 comes to us because we have successfully completed this training. And because they know that churches doing this kind of thing need to pay for some of what you have heard mentioned. So feasibility study, environmental site study. We learned about all the different professionals that you will need to work with over the course of a development project. But some things need to be done up front to move it forward. And we have funds from the Faith-Based Development Initiative to be able to do some of these studies and things and carry it forward. Yep. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Church members. I'm sure most of us have been hearing CDC. And I'm sure some already know what it means. It's Community Development Corporation. And it's a 501c3. And it has a tax exempt status. So discussing, this conversation started with our the word contractors, but consultants, yes. So our consultants, Ms. Bates and Ms. Harris. So they emphasize the need for the church to incorporate a CDC. And then in the process, it requires a lot, but we are still at the beginning phase, which is the incorporation stage that involves the name. So, of course, every member of the development committee, everyone was put to work and suggested names. And we discussed the names with, we discussed the names with the consultants. And one of the things that we were asked to keep in mind is make sure the names are not already used. So, and the only way to find out is going into going into the database, the Maryland database of business incorporated businesses. So we narrowed the names down, and also part of what we considered when we were working on the name is, as we were advised by our consultants, names that will not be suggestive of, so much religious involvement. And not to say that, but we want to make sure, especially for the purpose of applying for grants, we don't want to experience prejudice indirectly by whoever it is that you apply to. So
we're not calling it St. Christopher
Right.
or something or other.
Right, we're not using the word St. Christopher. So, and then we narrowed it down to 4 names that we also searched, and these names are available. So, first is Center of Grace, Faith's Hill, Nehemiah's Joy, Spring of Joy. And I want to thank every member of the development committee. These names just didn't come from 1 or 2 people, or 3. It was a collective effort. So let's say A brought this name, everyone worked together to, fine tune the name, of course, including Pastor Melania. And then these 4 names were giving the church an opportunity to be a part of this project. And I want to say that this is not the only time where the church will be invited to be a part of the project. So this is the church's project. And hence we agreed for the church to vote on these 4 names. So if you receive the email, I think the direction is up there. Okay. And so vote on these 4 names, and at the in order of preference, and we will collate results. Whichever is the most preferred will be what we go for. So we're giving everyone the opportunity to be a part of this. And that will be that. I will not be taking questions. If you have questions.
The population is one that allows the religious organizations to make very confident. CDC.
So the CDC is actually, seen just like any other nonprofit, but it's what St. Christopher's will use for the purpose of this development. And it's
My question is that the one that allows make the very income, apart from the regular one we use as a non-profit. So is that the purpose for the CDC?
for the purpose of
To make the church qualify for income and then 5 hours at the end of the day as a corporation.
So Pastor Melana will give a clearer response. I think the word income is what makes a difference here. So what the CDC does pretty much is, tax exempt, gives us the opportunity to benefit from grants from both the federal, private, and public sources.
We were advised by the person that we were looking to hire, who is an organizational development professional, that with the possibilities of the different kinds of entities we could create, that we wanted a not-for-profit organization. That's not the only way to do it, but that will serve our purposes best. It doesn't mean that there will be no income for us, but it means that the primary purpose of the thing is not income. We're not really pursuing a lot of profit that's not central to the purpose, although we will be able to make some money from this. And I will remind you that, as Tom was saying, the advantages of our having a separate entity from the church for 3 events. 1, we get to apply for funding, public funding that a church cannot apply for. We also get to have a sort of wall of protection between the congregation and this project. So if, for instance, and please now this will not happen, but if the project somewhere along the way were to be losing money, if it were the church that were doing it, then the church could be liable for that loss. We're setting up this separate entity to provide protection, financial protection for the church. So that, and such a thing would be to the Community Development Corporation, not to St. Christopher's as a congregation. And again, as we were working through the name process, there were, you all suggested names, emailed me, a few you did, and we considered a St. Christopher something in the name. But our consultant said, if you don't have a name that sort of blares Christianity or church, that would be better to take a step back from that kind of name, because that kind of name just might put some people off a little bit, and it might make them less inclined to fund you or support you. So we didn't want to do anything that had nothing to do with what we care about and who we're about. And we didn't want to name either that was at that end of the spectrum, like St. Christopher's or church. And so that is how we came up with these 4 names that we are inviting you to vote for. I just wanted to maybe add some things to what you have heard. We have not only the course review that Ms. Joseph flashed in front of you, which you can look at if you wish, but we have the actual slides from the training. We have the notes that we've taken. We have recordings of the training. So that, for instance, when we get to the part where we're seeking from, when we get to the part where we're looking into the process for choosing a development partner, which is what the request for proposals, the RFP, will be for. When we get to the point of dealing with regulations, when all these many different kinds of detailed things that have to be paid attention to in order to bring this to successful completion, we not only drunk from the fire hose in the courses, but we'll be able to remind each other about what we learned, and we'll be able to look over the things that we have in the church. So now I say to 2 of you who are leaving, good luck and saludo. Please check your email and vote. Check your email and vote on the names for the Community Development Corporation. It's been an exciting one. And I'm glad Ms. Bill mentioned that it was like a 2-semester course. That is true. But our perspective has changed for the better because of the time we put in. We didn't know before we started that it would be to our advantage to start a new not-for-profit company. We did not know before we started this term. We didn't have the opportunity to meet some of the bankers and Prince George's County officials and folk like that we will need to be dealing with along the way. We could not necessarily have said, hey, we're going to need not only an architect, but a civil engineer and yada, and we didn't know all of that. We did not have a sense that there are a bunch of grants out there that would require some work that might be worth our applying for to get some more money for what we need to do. There just is so much that we have gained through this time in knowledge, in networking, in perspective, in being able to have a sense of how you start and what it takes to finish. Also wanted to say this to you. This notion was in mind before I was called to be director of St. Christopher's in 2014. There was, I don't know, maybe 2012, 2013, that you came to this notion about developing the 2.5 acres to generate income for us to be able to put up in this church building. So it has been a working notion for us for a long time. And we've had periods of working at it more intensely or less intensely, and certainly COVID slowed us down, and certainly the one slowed us down. Questions?
Listening written now on the neighborhood's general election. I thought I got another glimpse of where politics might be headed in advance of office. Democrats facing a resurgent Donald Trump this fall should pay close attention. No matter what vote you get, the Conservative Party appears headed for a catastrophic defeat. One poll in particular has captured everyone's attention.
Thank you.
Conducted by Savanta for the Democrat predicts that the rate Tories by 21 points. A statistical model from Savanta and another from the electoral councils translates numbers of the parliamentary seats based on polling and general estimates projecting Labour 900 seats out of 60,000 comments.
Because this program
That would have
we began our training sessions with Richard. And helped us ground ourselves in the notion that this is about so much more than developing our property to generate income for.
I should caution that other models
it's about using this opportunity to greatly expand our community. Because affordable housing is so key. And because this new community centers, which we've been talking about for these 10 years and more, will allow us to achieve the homes there, family events, to trade in this, that, or the other. There are so many different ways, so many opportunities to serve the community come out of this. What I was going to say to you was this. What I was going to say to you was, we were set back by things that happened in the last they were hard.
Which made austerity.
This program has not been available in Prince George's country until 2023. It didn't exist here. It existed in Washington, D.C. It existed some other places in the country, but we could not have been in this conference that you have heard has taught us so much and given us so much to work with and greatly contributed to resources from for success. Hadn't had that tough lawsuit that sat us down and held us up, we would not have been able to it was really hard. It was really painful. It was really discouraging. Personally, I felt that at least as much as you did. But we know how the scripture says, in all things, God works for the good of those who love him and are according to his purpose. All those valleys and all that process, we were praying. We were seeking God.
Well, absolutely, they can make, they should get. Just say,
How God was going to help.
It's not because it's
We've
state
seen a
regulations.
couple instances, we saw the diocese came through for us and helped support us.
When you look at those first, you know, as opposed to what is behind us, like what those charities from.
In this past year of this program, that absolutely wasn't possible.
This was sort of slave orders. Some of the last
So
one made.
we praise God for this, and we thank Him, and we can look and see, okay. And God is blessing us and providing for us. And we're going to be seeing more of that. Because that's what we're going to do. There will be more of these occasions to say, oh, that's what God is doing. That's what he is.
So we're seeing a lot of
Now
that.
we can see. Because this strong,
So all the the other thing it does always is restore development. Right, if the practice the opportunity for those norms to organize, also get the ways then in the policy for here.
Carry this project forward in a way that, even though we were serious and working a year ago, different ways. So we thank God for you. And I invite you to be part of this by voting on your name. Center of Grace, or Faith Hill, or Nehemiah's Joy, or Spring of Joy. We really want to hear from you about what you think the name will be.
I wanted to sing a song.
I got a question.
Our God is a great God, a great God, above all the God. He's a miracle working God. He's a miracle working God. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's a miracle working God. Hallelujah.
So you can go right now. Right, one of those names, you're not sure that you hold the sign on the.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I think so. Yes, there was, yes.
Yeah. So it's something like what else something online. Recently. So how are you? Who is taking track?
I guess she's hanging out.
Oh, okay.
Chris, maybe my joy, Spring of Joy.
But I think it's
Spring of Joy. Yeah. Have you seen it?
So it doesn't matter.
I can vote, I'll vote. I will. That's fairly here. Pastor Valena, I got a question.
Yes, that's
This Faith Hill, why can't we be in Faith Hill Center?
Trying to change what it is.
I'm not changing it. I'm not changing it. I'm looking at the Center of Grace, Faith Hill Center too. You know, either one of them. Let me vote too. I have to vote.
You are right.
Vote. And you know, I'm not Is it anonymous? Everybody vote. Everybody vote. Yes, the one I have to see. That's right.
How do you know why?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, pass. More button now. You're good?
Please vote.
Vote counts.
Your please vote.
Now I'll do it again.
We'll let you know in a day or two how this all came out. I thank you for your attention. We look forward to speaking with you again. Many thanks to the Development Committee. Again, our Stephen Wosu Chair. Also, Kim Azubuke, Donna McMillan, Joe Mims Bolden, Leonacho Peterson, and Joanne Rings. Thank you.
Oh, we need to put these chairs back.
How was it? Is it close up?
There's no middle aisle.
Okay.
So we're gonna ask people.
You have more people.
Because I think. Yeah. Just, yeah. I mean, when I think about, she's not here anymore. Urgent Amanda did this for us. Thanks be to God.